The grandson took this Volga from his grandfather, who was already planning to scrap it, because he didn't have the strength or the finances to restore it. The grandson decided to restore this car and make his grandfather happy, who had driven it for several decades. And the work began. As planned, the entire body was replaced. Only the roof was left from the old car. Everything else went to waste. One fine day, I saw this hardcore at the store. I couldn't just walk past it. The wheels look insane. They say discs, that's 50% of the car's design. I collected all the gaps, made the arches and prepared the car for painting. I worked long and hard on the arches, ruined a lot of hardware, and finally got what I wanted. Gaps are a separate topic. It is almost impossible to make narrow gaps on the Volga. With great effort I made beautiful gaps in the hood, trunk and fenders. But the huge gaps on the sides by the doors couldn't be fixed. I solved the problem by extending them. I brought the front door closer to the front fender and the rear door closer to the rear. I fixed the huge gap in the middle by extending parts of the doors. After I finished the bodywork, it was time for the painting. It turned out great. It's a joy to behold. Choosing the color took a long time, there were so many options. The standard upholstery didn't fit the design of the interior, and I didn't like the stock ones from the 31. I accidentally stumbled upon a luxury interior option for the 31105 online. They'll fit just fine. Finally, the long-awaited package has arrived. The engine is from an X5. I'll be honest, I searched for this engine for a very long time, almost a year. After a long search, my friend finally found the engine in Moscow. We'll be taking everything apart and replacing all the gaskets and necessary consumables. There was no place for chrome details in this design. So, I needed to paint all the parts in matte black, and the handles and mirrors in the color of the wheels. But before that, I needed to remove the chrome or nickel from the parts. I bought a few cans of ferric chloride and started etching. I etched several times. I spent a ton of money and time. In the end, the old parts got damaged in the weak spots, and the chrome just wouldn't come off. I said to hell with it, went out, and bought a set of new handles and chrome details with a vent. We painted it after sanding and applying a special primer for chrome. We'll see how it performs in use. I ordered 8 piston brakes with a diameter of 405 mm. They arrived about a month later. The brakes are huge. I bought the engine in what seemed to be good condition. But no matter how good the engine is, I wouldn't install it there without a rebuild, not for anything. We took the whole engine apart down to the last screw. The condition wasn't great, although the pistons, camshafts, crankshaft, and valves were undamaged. We replaced everything that was needed. I installed almost all the parts, original new parts. Before installing the engine, I decided to update all the suspension parts, regardless of the condition of the old ones. Shock absorbers and springs. For now, I'll leave it as is and replace it depending on the final clearance. Installing the 4 and 6 engine forced me to replace everything else that was attached to it. The driveshaft is from the 4 and 4, the axles are from the E39. Alpina's 4 and 6, the differential is from the E38. I installed the front brakes in their long-awaited places. The rear brakes have arrived. 6 pistons, 356 mm. I installed it on the car and tested it. They look and brake just great. We installed the engine from the X5 in its place. The headlights were successfully installed on the Volga. First, we installed the Niva headlights. They were sticking out and looked terrible. Then I bought the headlight housings from the VAZ21. I had to do some work with a file to fit these headlights in there. We painted the rings black. It looks beautiful. To create perfect gaps, I had to add metal to the doors. There was no other way. The straight line from the beginning of the front fender to the end of the rear shouldn't be distorted by the doors. The gaps of the hood are also a tricky and important element. It's clearly visible how the dashboard on the windshield ruins the overall picture. so we'll remake it from fiberglass without any ventilation holes. The gasket under the handle was cut off at the edges so that it would not stick out. The keyhole has been removed. If the battery dies, we will somehow open the door. I accidentally came across a seat from a Mercedes. Although I'm not a Mercedes fan, we installed it in place, connected it, and everything works. Initially, I wanted something modest for the interior, close to stock. But the appearance dictated other conditions and off we went. We started with the dashboard and finished with the upholstery. Both the instrument panel and the trim were redone several times. We're continuing to wrap the interior. The process is slow and tedious. It's turning out pretty well. We've wrapped it in faux leather. We put a special material under the leather to eliminate imperfections, so the leather wouldn't peel off and to add softness. The dashboard is almost ready. Optitron, the scale goes up to 300 km/h, with the needles pointing down. I completely redesigned the grille. It turned out beautiful and original. The exhaust, which was also previously custom, sounded rich and loud. But the plan was to create a completely new exhaust system out of stainless steel. It took a long time, but we did it carefully. We wanted to reduce the sound a bit, so we added 2 resonators. The sound turned out to be deep up to 1200 RPM, and after that, it's a nice roar from the V8. And here is the Volga fully assembled. By the way, the old owner. Grandpa didn't recognize his car, and only when he saw his license plates did he get teary-eyed and hug his grandson. The result of all this work is a unique car that combines the classic look of the Gaz 24 and modern BMW technology. The project author is proud of his creation and uses it for his daily commutes. He claims that his Volga can reach speeds of up to 250 km/h and can outrun many modern cars. He also gets a lot of compliments and attention from other drivers and pedestrians. If you like the huge work done on this Volga, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.